morning. So today we are making container soil, potting soil, soil mix, I guess you could say that we can use. So soil, potting soil, can get expensive really quick, especially if you're going for like all that premium stuff. So we were just looking at some options to basically stretch that dollar a little further. So we've spent the last week or so searching various YouTube videos and things of that nature on ideas for soil mixtures. Everything from using different types of topsoil, garden soils, and peat moss and coconut coir, and everything else. And decided on this little stack of stuff I've got in front of me here. Here's Monty bringing me coffee. So what we've got here today, I'll show you real quick. So we have some peat moss, some garden soil, some manure, perlite, got some garden lime. That's used because the peat moss is actually kind of acidic. And then of course some organic fertilizer. So we are going to be mixing this all up and making some soil. Alright, so for the most part, what I've seen, here, it's pretty much equal parts peat moss and equal parts soil. So when we cut these up, start mixing in here. We're mixing them in these totes. We don't have any kind of like wheelbarrow or anything. I've seen people just lay down tarp and mix on that. So just use whatever you've got. We're just going to be using these totes here. And so let's cut into the peat moss. Kind of eyeball. It doesn't have to be
Up or down much on that.
Well, I don't know yet. I'm just gonna maybe a third of the way through, quarter of the way through. Quite a bit. Yeah. So that's the idea of the peat moss, is it's soft, airy. If you show what the peat moss kind of looks like here. So it's pretty fluffy and light. We'll probably be airing this down a little bit, or airing it down, watering it down a little bit. So we'll be watering it down a little bit, just to make sure it's actually able to basically retain that water. And that's the idea of the peat moss, is to not only add that aeration, but water retention too. So that's why we're adding this stuff here. So now that we got the peat moss, of course we've gone through both of these. I can see it doesn't go through a whole lot because this stuff's pretty compacted into the packaging here. So we'll save that for later. We actually got more. We'll get into what we're using to put this soil in here in just a little bit. But next thing is, of course, the soil. We decided to just go with some garden soil. See that stuff's darker. Actually, let's wet this down here real quick first. Now we just play in the mud. I'll set up a bit. Make sure it's not repelling water. So now you can see it's starting to kind of, like you can kind of form it. It's soaking up all that water, and that's good. Not repelling it. Alright, so we got that pretty well mixed up here. Now we're just going to get into this. I'm actually going to grab a shovel for this one because this is pretty compact here. Well, this is going to have a lot of sticks. Take forever. So before we get into the manure and stuff, the next thing is to add some garden lime. Now again, from what I've seen, peat moss is acidic. Now if you're growing stuff like blueberries and such that like the acidic soil, you're probably okay. It's not, from what I've seen, it's not going to necessarily kill a bunch of plants, but they do recommend just a little bit. You know, from what I've seen, it also only takes like basically just taking a little. Let me just grab it. Just like that. And that's probably enough actually right there. And that's it. So this bag will, because of how little you have to use, will probably last a long time. While we're at it, go ahead and put in the fertilizer or organic plant food, however you want to say it. And probably about as much, just like a handful or so. We'll do two. And then the perlite, which is just, again, helps with aeration and such, water retention. And this is just that foamy stuff. It looks like styrofoam in potting soil. That's all that is. And it doesn't need a ton of that either. Maybe 2 handfuls of that too. We'll see how it looks when we mix it up. And then we'll just mix this up. So hopefully you can see it's actually starting to look like some pretty decent soil. It's spilling all over the porch here. But we're not done. Now we got the manure. So this is fully composted manure that we found. This stuff was cheap, so it was what was this one again? This was like $2 a bag. So basically what we've done so far is, if you want to look at it this way, it's basically 2 parts of the peat moss, 2 parts of the soil, and then 1 part manure. That's the mixture we're going to be trying here. So I'm just going to open this up and pour it in. Now I don't know if that's exactly 2-2-1. It's not exact science, but that's what we're going with here. Oh yeah. And there you go. There's some good looking soil right there. From what I've seen, I'm not experienced at this yet, but looks pretty good to me. gonna wipe or rinse my hands off here. All right, so the next thing is we got these grow bags. So these ones are Vivosun is the manufacturer. Got these off of Amazon. So they sell them in various sizes. We started off with a 5-pack, the 30-gallon. Just curious to see how big those are. We also got a couple of the 100 gallons. I don't have these out here, but I'll leave a link in the description for the Amazon listing for these. Went with these just mainly because of the rating. I mean, it's something like 37,000 ratings and still had like 4.7 stars. And the very first rating gave a 1-year update, a 2-year, a 3-year, and a 5-year update. So I figured for the cost, because for a 5-pack I think it was like 25 bucks or something like that. I don't remember for sure. If I can get 5 years off of $25, I'd say that's pretty decent. So all we're going to do now is just basically pour these into this and see just how much we mixed here. I actually don't think this is going to be enough to fill one of these, so we'll probably have to mix some more, but we'll do that after all this. So it took both totes. Now we could have mixed a little bit more in these. It's our first time mixing these, so we don't know how much is going in there. But both totes could basically do one 30-gallon bag. Now the cool thing with this, we still got plenty. I can mix a whole nother bag here easily with just what we got here. I might run out of the manure afterwards, but it was cheap. I got plenty of peat moss and dirt here, especially the peat moss. I got so much of that, which is nice because you can also use that for helping to amend soils and stuff like that, or if you have excess garden soil and things of that nature. So this right here probably, I don't know, this probably cost basically just a few bucks right here for the amount that we've got. So definitely a viable option as far as trying to get your dollar to stretch. We're hoping to eventually start composting, which will help with some of it, but we're not set up for that just yet, which is why we started with this here. As we get going with compost and things of that nature, obviously that'll help reduce cost even more. So, yeah.
Joys of living in the city.
Yeah.
You can put that.
It is the joys of living in the city. So that does it for now. I'll show you what we got here. We went ahead and mulched it with that. So that, by the way, that garden soil is basically a multi-purpose soil. So it can be used as not only an amendment, as a soil base, but also as a mulch because of the wood. I'll show you the finished project here. We got some romaine lettuce and some kale that we've put in here. So again, that's going to do it for us for now. We actually got some more mixing that we're going to do. We got some basil that we're going to put in. I'm probably actually going to use an entire container for that because of how invasive it is, but that means I just ought to have a whole bunch of basil. So we'll give you an update in about a week or so, show you our progress. In the meantime, thank you and
Bye.
bye.